against Pakistan that is to come. So, precautionary measure and an opportunity to give Anderson Phillip a run out. Here is this delivery from Alzarri Joseph on the line of the stumps, turned away into that short forward square leg line of the stumps, turned away into that short forward square leg region where Amir Django is located, and there is no run.
Yeah, then if you notice, the balance in the field brings, pressure to. You don't get away with a single very easily. There's always, a man in place just for the square, on the half side, mid-half, mid-on, and you still have men in catching position.
So you are happy with this field?
Yeah, it's looking better than what we've been seeing over the past years. Way better.
We watch as here is Alzarri Joseph runs in, right arm around the wicket, and this delivery again on the line of the stumps. The left-handed Kamindo Mendes just leans forward, plays it quietly back up on the onside, and there is no run.
Yeah, I think what happens then was sometimes your bowlers, they bowl a ball that is not even of a bad nature, but the batsmen still get a single, and that's what irritates bowlers most of the time. You bowl a very decent ball and the batters are still getting a single, which is not an easy thing for them to fathom.
Alzarri Joseph begins to move in now. He's in and bowls, and this delivery again on the body of Kamindo Mendes, and he just plays it quietly into that leg side field. Again, Amir Django is the fielder that's called into action, and there is no run. So West Indies today leaving out Joshua Da Silva, who wicket kept in the last match, and as we said, Kemar Roach for precautionary measures. They've also brought in an extra man in that straightish mid-wicket position. Alzarri Joseph is not quite happy with the change. We just saw him gesturing a little bit, not sure if what the situation is, but they've moved that man from the offside into that straightish mid-wicket position. Alzarri Joseph stands at his mark, just taking his time about things. He's been stopped by the bowler as well. Something has just thrown him off a little bit, Dave. Not sure if it's that field placement, that movement by the captain, but he's beginning now. He's beginning to move in now. He's over the wicket, and again he's a delivery that is on the line of the batter, maybe on the line of the middle stump, played defensively into the offside field, and there is no run. The over has come to an end, and also my little stint has come to an end. 30 for 2 after more thoughts from you, Dave Joseph. You hear the voice of Seth Burton.
Yeah, I think Alzarri is not happy with that field placement. It's noticeable. I think his plans that he was working towards have been shattered by the captain. That's why he stood at the top of his mark, and he had to regroup and then came in and bowled at last delivery. But captain and bowlers have got to be on the same wavelength if you're going to have success set.
Well, it's teamwork. It's all about teamwork. It's all about shared vision. You see Alzarri indicating the adjustment there that we've seen on the replay. And I know he has contributed to the team's success, because previously, a couple of overs ago before the wicket, he signaled, the adjustment was made, and a wicket was a result. So it works both ways. Anderson Phillip is about to join in the attack from the Sir Curtly Ambrose end. Fit as a fiddle, he comes in over the wicket, coming forward on this occasion. is Udara. Looks quite comfortable. Dave Joseph, I used to speak about your dilemma when you were scoring a ton of runs and didn't make it onto the West Indies team until about 4 years later. But Udara has a similar story. Udara is in only his third test match. But prior to that, he has really belted it all over. And it took him some time to get into the test team. We'll get back to that. Anderson Phillips is there, short of a length, pulled forward of square. We'll get at least two. It's going towards the boundary. Will they get four? Yes, the ball beats Alzari Joseph running around from long leg, and the fielder Jaden Seals coming in from mid wicket into the boundary for four. A good welcome to Anderson Phillips to his spell so far, Dave.
Yeah, if you're going to bowl a short ball, as we had, highlighted in the last test match set, you've got to bowl a real short ball. You can't just rest it on the pitch. Have you noticed just now the batter just fanned it away? It was so slow. You've got to really hustle up these batsmen if you're going to get success.
So it is 34 for 2. Udara, the dominant scorer, he's on 26. Kamindo Mendes, the young left-hander, he is on 1. Anderson Phillips, in search of his first wicket here this morning, beats him outside the off stump. A good delivery. Dave, full of length, and really just went through. Good carry to the wicket keeper. Shea Hope would be happy with that effort. Oh, in fact, that went away from him, pitched just about off stump.
Beautiful.
And really, the variation there, I think it's good from this gentleman from Port of Spain. I was speaking about Udara because he played 122 first-class matches before this test match. 8,536 runs. Here is he facing Anderson Phillips. Gets a good one and he plays it to Shamar Joseph at mid-on. When you look at his stats, a higher score of 290 not out, an average first-class average of 42.68, 1942 half centuries, and this is only his third test match. So he must be a hard-nosed cricketer. I mean, one who never gives up. He's 32 years old. You can see that he looks composed, even though the other players were falling around him. He has kept his focus. He's keeping focus. As Anderson Phillips comes into him, he drives, but only as far as Shamar Joseph at wide mid-off, and there is no run. So patience is the name of the game. You would look at the Sri Lankans and you'd say in the previous game, in the 10th over, was when they actually lost 2 wickets. At one stage they were 2 for 1 and they were able to climb to 40 for 1, and then Alzari Joseph in the 10th over had a double strike, was on a hat-trick. It was 42 for 3. This time we're in the 12th over at the end of it. It is 34 for 2. They're not scoring as fast, but they're controlling the wickets. On the other hand, here is Anderson Phillips, worked by Udara, out to forward of square. Jaden Seals goes around, picks the ball up, only a single to Udara. He moves to 27, and it is almost time for a drinks break. In fact, it is time for a drinks break, Dave Joseph, and at drinks time, you know what it is. The West Indies would be seeking to regroup. Your thoughts? The man who has taken the wicket so far, Shamar Joseph, has been the lone wicket taker for the West Indies. Jaden Seals still in search of that, I don't want to say elusive, but so far that pause on his wicket taken, still in search of his 100th test wicket.
Yeah, well, I guess he'll be looking forward to get to that 100 test wicket set. It would be another landmark for him. And if he bowls, if Phillips bowls anything like he did in this first-class competition that just finished for the West Indies, said he's going to be a handful.
Yes.
Because he keeps coming at you.
Keeps coming, and at a steady pace.
Steady pace.
Steady rate, steady line, steady length. But just for the listeners to know what is happening, what has happened, Sri Lanka this morning won the toss, and they decided to bat. As you would have heard, they had to make some changes, and Isanka did not start. But instead, you had Lehuru Yudara, who is still there. He is not out on 27. He was in an opening pair with Nishanka Madushka, but Nadushka was caught king of the bowling of Shamar Joseph for 6, cutting at 1 at short point, and was easily taken. And then Dennis Chandimal, the man who is the most experienced of the Sri Lankan batters, he was caught by King, but this time still off Shamar Joseph, but this time forward or square on the onside. So one backward of square on the off at point, the other forward or square on the outside. Chandimal flicking, he went for 1. Sri Lanka finding themselves in a spot of butter. But Kamindu Mendes, he has since joined Udara, and they have taken the score up to 35 for 2. Shamar Joseph, the man, taking the wickets, 2 for 21 from his 5 overs, including the maiden. Jaden Seals, 5 overs, 3 maidens, done for 9. Alzari Joseph just having the 1 over, which was a maiden. Anderson Phillip having only 1 over for 5 runs, just starting his game. But as Terry Laraji comes beside me, Terry, they lost their first at 15, then added 10, the second at 25. It will be interesting to see how they build from here. I think that will be the secret of either a resurgent Sri Lankan team or one that goes down into a hole this first session.
Yes, quite correct, Seth. Good morning once again to all our listeners. As we said, it was a surprise move that they opted to bat first, Sri Lanka, given the conditions and what happened in the first test. But it was a positive move, and they've tried to play with positive intent. The 2 wickets peeled straight off the middle of the bat, really, but picked out fielders and failed to keep the ball along the ground. They'd be disappointed with that, but I think that is the intent that needs to keep going, and the intent that needs to be shown for Sri Lanka. Once again, they need a partnership, obviously, but just to keep that good intent, I think is their best chance of posting something decent in this first innings. With the West Indies bowlers, though, I still say, Dave and I were saying last week, test out the middle of the pitch just to give Sri Lankan batsmen something else to think about. It's okay having your plans and everything like that, and that's great, and especially if you can be consistent with them. But it's not all the time that you're going to execute, and just to give them something different to think about and have in the back of their mind that there could be a short ball around the corner, and see how they handle it.
It doesn't seem to be part of the plan, because at the start, to be fair, with Jaden Seals coming in, there was a forward short leg, but after 2 overs from him, that was withdrawn, and now you see Alzari Joseph without a forward short leg. The 3 slips are there, though, on the pads, worked away, a single, oh good. Well, it could have been danger there. Good bit of running and quick throwing by the fielder coming in at mid-on, and that could have been trouble. Nevertheless, it is Kima Paul who is on. We are not quite sure who has left the field. We would check, keeping our radar on Jaden Seals, the man who has 99 wickets, and well, he seems to be the one who's off the field. But Kima Paul, he's a no-nonsense fielder. He would inject life. And Alzari Joseph is showing the guys, yes, you got to back that up, because Kimo is going to be on target. So the man on strike now is Camindo Mendes, and he's no slouch with the bat. You look at him, he's in his 16th test match, but already he has 500s, test hundreds. A batter with an average of 57.60. He faces Alzari Joseph from around the wicket. He drives into the cover region. A big chase there by Kavem Hodge, who sends the return in. A single to Mendes. Moves to 3 and the score, 38 for 2. Joseph walks back to his mark. He's not pleased with something. You can see the shaking of the head. And he's a very competitive youngster. Perhaps he wants to obey you and Dave by giving some chin music to the batters, and he doesn't have the forward short leg. Well, because you see him asking for something.
He's got it now.
Well, he has it now. So someone is listening. Mendes gets one that flew, and that was just between shoulder and chin height. As we were saying, he was looking to come forward, and that one surprised him, and it went through to Shea Hope. So he's willing, and it wasn't that short, but he got a good bounce. Shea Hope had to jump in the air in order to take that. That one went past the edge as well. Good bowling on the part of Joseph, working up some pace here, waking up the Saviv Richards ground. That was 144. In fact, the previous one 146. So he's steaming in with pace. Comes in now, driven back past him. Good bit of stop by the fielder at mid-off. It looks like mid-on. Shamar Joseph, who really showed commitment. Diving around. So this is good fast bowling from him. Started the over just about 131, then picked up the pace. And the first test, remember he had those 2 wickets with his first over. And the one that was exciting is that one when he had the bat to the captain, not playing a stroke, outside the off stump, and it was quick.
The perfect delivery, top of off.
Here he comes in. The 3 slips are down. Joseph comes in, a good bouncer. He's here in Terry and Dave. He's testing the pitch, and the pitch has shown that it has some life. Yadara going down, going under that one.
Because also, Seth, when you think about it, you were talking about Udara and the mammoth amount of experience he's got at first-class level, but it is only his 3rd match.
That's the point. I mean? That's the point. And oftentimes you have some of these players come through a couple of games and think they should be getting a play. This man is a man who is a solid player. Also, we spoke about Camindo Mendes. 15 games and 5 centuries, averaging over 57. This time, Dara drives loose fielding by Kimo Paul. That one went through him. What should not have been even a single goes right out to the long boundary. They're coming back for the 3rd, and this is really disgusting. Could not be pleasing to Alzari Joseph. The score is 42 for 2 at the end of 13 overs. It was at this identical stage, 42 for 2 in the first game, but this was in the 10th over, and this is definitely not good from the West Indies. A fundamental feeling error, and the ball goes down to long on for 3 runs.
Yeah, but a poor bit of fielding there by Kimo Paul. He didn't judge the bounce of it off the square, but also just the way he chased it. He just sort of lumbered after it, able to get 3.
And Joseph has left the field at the end of the over, perhaps getting a little break, perhaps, and it will be Anderson Phillip. So 2 fast bowlers are off. Jaden Seals, Kimo Paul did replace Jaden Seals.
Looks like Seals is back on though.
Seals is back on, so they're having a little rotation break, perhaps. Get their radar together, get some juice in. but really an expressed over from Alzari Joseph. Here's Anderson Phillip. Comes in down the leg side, worked away easily by Udara. Gets one there. Coming back for the second. He could struggle here. He gets in barely. Terry, why would you want to force a second in a situation like that?
Definitely. That's the second time in the last 2 overs that they've taken a risky run. But I'll tell you, it was well judged.
Well judged.
A beautiful return right over
yes.
the top of the stumps. Hope didn't take it cleanly. He would have been in anyway.
Yes. So Anderson Phillip, the 29-year-old Trinidad and Tobago fast bowler. In fact, also he's just in his 7th test match for the West Indies. Only 10 wickets. Nevertheless, one understands that at times you have had your career being stretched a little bit and not having consistently playing for the West Indies. He comes in over the wicket. A good delivery. And Udara, I keep saying that he tugs on the bottom hand of the bat somehow. When he gets cramped. You're not seeing that stationary position when in defense.
No, you're not seeing a solid defensive shot.
Not at all, and I'm not quite sure. But he knows it. He comes down, he prods at the pitch. At the same time, we see the children, those from Grassroots Academy, those from Heritage Preschool. We are seeing others joining us. And we are seeing some of the youngsters having the opportunity to be entertained. Anderson Phillip seeks to entertain, seeks to get a wicket just outside the off stump. But well played in the end by Udara. Stood up straight and played it with a firm bat. It wasn't solid defense, but it was solid drive. But the fielder at short cover had no problem there. So, critical part of the game, Terry. One in which the Sri Lankans would know that they would need to build a partnership, and the West Indies would know that they can't take their feet off the gas. They would need to get another wicket. Well, the session looms large for both teams. Here is Anderson Phillip, comes into Udara. Dara steers this one out to backward point. Kavem Hodge comes around, dives over well. The Dominican all-rounder bats at number 3. But when we saw him first in the early days, he was a good left-arm bowler and a good batter. Remember a couple of years ago you were saying, Terry, you're talking him up. That was before he made the West Indies team. Because I was asking the question, you have all these players, he looks good, bats assuredly.
Yep.
Why was he out? And some guys were getting by on average of 20 to an average of that inconsistency. And he came in and actually has 200s behind his belt. Anderson Phillip comes in on the pads, well played by Udara, got inside the line and worked it around. Shamar Joseph comes around to the long leg position, fields only a single, score moves to 45 for 2, and Anderson Phillip has completed the 5th delivery of his second over. Was bowling straight. I think nothing was wrong with the line, nothing was wrong with the length. But Udara felt confident enough to go across and glance that one down.
And you can tell he's building in confidence. I mean, he scored 34 out of the 45 so far. Some 47 deliveries he's been out there for since the start of play.
So, it is really, and even Stephen here, Sri Lanka surprising Terry and the others by saying they were going to bat first. But I like the idea that Njaya De Silva, he got 100 in the first innings, batting first before they fell apart in the second. Oh, this one is cracked. Down to backward point for 4. Cracked with authority by Comando Mendes. Just stood up. And in spite of the backward point, in spite of the gully, he took it well. well. Full face of the bat, horizontal stroke into the boundary for 4. Score moves to 49 for 2. And Mendes moves to 8, Terry.
Yeah, he played that well. Kamindo Mendes, they'll be looking for him for a big score. He didn't get off in the first test, scores of 0 and 9. But I would have liked to have seen, especially since it was the last ball of the over, Anderson Phillips stay over the wicket to the left-hander. So he was bringing it back into the right-hander, and he just lost his direction there, coming around the wicket to the left-hander. Too short, too wide. And a good shot played by Mendes.
Yes, he pulled down also on the delivery. It was a bit wide, as you mentioned, outside the off. So Alzarri Joseph is back after a short break, and he will resume from the Sir Andy Roberts end. Joseph, who had a quick over, really woke up the batters. Comes in now over the wicket to Udara. Udara steals this one between the backward point and the gully into the boundary for 4. Kimapol chasing but cannot really get close to that one. The 50 comes up. Sri Lanka 53 for 2. The 50 come in a 13.1 over, and he played it well, Terry.
Yeah, he didn't play it too badly. I think the secret with that is he let it come to him. Played it right under his eyes, and he was able to find the gap between gully and backward point. Very important little session leading up to lunch here. Sri Lanka can't afford to lose another. I'll be wanting him to keep going.
The hero Udara continues to bat well here. He's on 38 down the leg side, fishes at it. He's trying to flick it off the hip. Shehope came across. The ball came through at 140 Ks. So may have been beaten down the leg side. Current run rate, Terry, 3.7. Not bad for the opening day. In fact, the 50 coming off 14.1 overs. I said 13.1. So just a correction. The Sri Lankans would be hoping that they can weather the storm.
The run rate has been quite good, though, hasn't it?
Yes.
Right through the series thus far, yeah.
And Alzarri Joseph searching for his first wicket in this game. Playing this one, coming across and playing it into the onside. Udara. And there is no run. So just to remind you, Sri Lanka won the toss this morning and opted to bat, opening with Madushka and Udara. Udara coming in to replace Nissanka. Udara is still not out on 38 and has been batting well, scoring more than half of the runs. But Madushka was caught king of the bowling of Shamar Joseph for 6. And then Dennis Chandamal, he was caught king of the bowling of Joseph, that's Shamar Joseph, for 1. They lost the wicket at 15 and 25 since then. These two, Kamindo Mendes and Udara, they have been batting well. Udara plays this one on the up. It was a shortish delivery from Joseph. He was not fully in control, but the fielders, there was one forward of square on the onside and one deep backward of square. It went about halfway to the boundary and stopped. So Alzarri Joseph, inducing at least a measure of uncertainty with the short delivery. He was playing forward of square. Didn't play with all the confidence in the world, but yet he had the luxury and the comfort of getting 2 runs.
Yeah, he had the open spaces out there, so it fell safely. But you don't mind this at all from Alzarri?
Well, you're correct. You were the one who called for some shorter stuff. That's what you're accustomed to, you expect from fast bowlers. Here is the tall Antiguan, the All Saints villager, comes in over the wicket to Udara. Udara gets one. He was covering up, hustled, rushed a bit in defense. One delivery remaining in over number 15. Now Zari Joseph at close to the end of his third over. That one went in at just 138k. So Yodara has 40. Batting well from 52 deliveries. Camindo Mendes, the more established batter, has only 8. 6 boundaries already to Yodara. So 24 of his 40 runs have been from boundaries. As Zari Joseph comes into him, this one bouncing a bit and coming into him, played it under jump, played it nicely in the end, out to Jaden Seals at mid-on. He fields and there is no run. Yodara remains on 40. Camindo Mendes on 8. Joseph from that over, well, just conceded 7 runs, 6 runs in that over. He's none for 13. Shamar Joseph has 2 for 21. Sorry, Jaden Seals none for 9, who bowled old Anderson Phillip, none for 12 from his 2. After your comments, Terry, Jack Matthew will continue the ball by ball commentary.
Yes, Yodara is continuing on. Good application from him so far in just his third test match, and one for a while. It needs to keep going. Important partnership this for Sri Lanka after the loss of 2 early wickets. They'll be looking to get through to lunch, which is still some 37 minutes away. Good morning, Jack.
Good morning again to you, Terry. Anderson Phillip is bowling around the wicket to the left-handed Camindo. He's in, and the Trinidadian fast bowler is outside the line of the off stump. Shea Hope takes it low down, just a little bit away to his left. There are 3 slips and a gully. There's a point and a cover and a mid-off, a mid-on, a mid-wicket, and a long leg. That's the field for the fast bowler Anderson Phillip bowling to the left-handed Sri Lankan batsman Camindo. After failing in the first test, we'll be looking to get it right in this, the second test match of the series. Sri Lanka humiliated in the opening match by an innings and 217 runs. Anderson Phillip bounds in, goes past umpire Paul Rifle, and he's driving into the offside. It's half stopped by the diving fielder at that square position. That's Brandon King, and the ball runs away towards the deep cover position, and it had to be retrieved by, that looks to be Amir Django, and so they got a couple of runs for it. Camindo is on to 10, 57 for 2 is the Sri Lankan score. That one just played the short arm jab, if you will, just jerking the bottom hand and sending the ball away. Went rather quickly, and there was King having to make the dive at that point position, and it's outside the off stump. A ball of full length, and the batsman opting not to play, and Shea Hope having to take it behind the stump. So Sri Lanka winning the toss and deciding to bat, to the surprise of many, and they opened with Nishan Madushka and Lihiru Udara, who is still out in the middle, and Madushka was caught by King of the bowling of Shamar Joseph for 6, caught at point when the score is on 15, and then Dinesh Chandimal, who looked uncomfortable. Here is Phillip, and it's a full length delivery, and the batsman is across his thumbs. Camindo and is forward as well and plays it into the offside, and there is no run. Chandimal was caught by King, flicking towards mid-wicket of the bowling of Shamar Joseph for 1. It was 25 for 2.
Just with Anderson Phillip, you know, he's had a, you might as well say, a rough start to his career. He's averaging almost 66 for his 10 wickets in the couple of tests he's played, but just coming round to the left and I don't think he's got that control. I'd rather see him over the wicket to him, and now we've got a deep backward point again.
He runs in, and Kamindo is clipping the ball down towards the backward square position. Just to see if he got back onto that. Paul Rifle now signals leg by. Yes, the ball traveling rather slowly. So there was no bat. The ball hitting the pad, angling down the leg side. And so an extra to the Sri Lankan cause. They're now 58 for the loss of 2. And those 10 wickets, his best figures, Anderson Phillip at the highest level. 3 for 70, best in a match. 4 for 87. This is his 7th test match.
While you're hunting wickets, Jack, I'd rather see that man stay at traditional backward point.
He's over the wicket now as a right-hander. Yodara comes in to strike. And he's cracking this ball off the back foot, and he's gone away for 4. Hit with a great degree of flamboyance by the Sri Lankan opener. It was shortish. It was outside the line of the off stump, and he had the room there to execute, and he did so in attractive fashion, slapping the ball off the back foot, and it ran down to the square cover position for 4 runs. Udara is growing in confidence, and that's his highest test score, 44, and it's 62 for 2. Sri Lanka after 16 overs.
Yeah, well played once again to Udara, but short and wide from Anderson Phillip, and he has had problems with his control in his test career so far. And I was just saying with the left-handed Mendes on strike, I'd rather see them give him an extra slip, keep the backward point at the traditional backward point position, and make him bowl across the batsman, but at the batsman, taking it away from the batsman, short and wide outside the off stump, and you're setting fields for bad bowling.
Alzari Joseph will come around the wicket. Kamindo is on strike, Mendes, and he's clipping the ball, and it's well fielded by fielder moving around from the forward square leg position. That's Brandon King, who took 2 catches early on, and it remains on 62 for 2. Alzari Joseph in his 42nd test match, having captured 127 wickets. His best haul, 5 for 27 in an innings, 711 in a test match. Has had 2 5-wicket hauls and 3 4-wicket hauls in test cricket. The 10-wicket haul, elusive at the moment. And he will look to come from this Andy Robertson, his fellow Antiguan. And here is a ball which is clipped away towards the mid-on, and a little bit of misfeeling by the mid-on fielder. That looks to be Shamar Joseph, and there was no chance for the batsman going for a run because the ball was too close to Shamar Joseph. It remains on 62 for 2.
Brandon King's been on fire in the field so far in this match. I believe, Jack, that will translate into his batting.
Yes, and that's the hope for the West Indian fans, because he has been very inconsistent with his batting, a man of huge talent. Alzari Joseph is in, and this is driven into the offside, and through the offside, a bit of this feeling there by the fielder there. That looks to be Brandon King. Yes, just falling away to his left there, not being able to get behind the ball, and they were able to scamper back for the second run. It should not have been a single, but it just calling his name.
I don't think it was King though. King's still at.
Yes, it wasn't King. It was Amir Django. Yes, that's the name I almost said. But then someone whispered that it was Brandon King. Our apologies to Brandon King. He has had a very good morning with those 2 catches, and he has been moving with a great degree of alacrity in the field as well. So it's Amir Django who was the culprit at that cover position. Alzari Joseph strides in again. He's into bowl to Mendes, and Mendes is covering up and plays the ball square. Amir Django comes in. he would not misfeel that 100 out of 100 times because the ball just crawled to him. And he just allowed the ball to run into his hands. 64 for 2 is the Sri Lankan score. They made 3 changes, Sri Lanka, 2 forced. Pathum Nissanka, that dashing opening batsman, has left the field, has left the team and has gone away for surgery to an injured hand. So he has been forced out. Lahiru Kumara, who limped off on the second morning of the first test with a hamstring problem, again not recovered. And Kasun Rajita out of favor. 3 changes for Sri Lanka. Driven through the offside. The ball is traveling towards the boundary. I'm not sure he's going to get there. It's slowing up considerably and will be pulled back by the mid-off fielder. And they come back for the second. A good-looking drive, extra cover drive by Kamindu, coming forward and driving the ball sweetly to the left of Amir Django at cover and into the extra cover region for a couple of runs.
Yeah,
and
good
coming into the side, Lahiru Udara, who is out there still, he opened the batting this morning, and the bowling all-rounder, medium fast bowler, Vijay Sundara, and Prabhat Jayasuriya, the left-arm spinner. Those are the players coming into the Sri Lankan 11. Alzari Joseph sprints in to bowl to Kamindu Mendes, and Mendes is jumping into line. The ball hits the face of the bat and then goes away into the offside. The West Indies making 2 changes. Shu Hope coming back. Joshua the Silva has made way, and Anderson Phillips coming in for Kemar Roach, who has a niggling hamstring problem, and out of the abundant caution, or the abundance of caution, they've decided to leave him out of the 11. Sri Lanka 66 for 2.
Yeah, Kamindu Mendes starting to get into his stride. A couple of nice off drives there off Alzari. He's wary of the ball coming back into him. Or will it straighten? That was his downfall in the first test. But I think it's a more balanced 11, don't you, though, Jack, that Sri Lanka has put out there, especially with the bowling department. Last week, even though Kamaru only bowled the 1 over, there didn't seem to be a plan B, in as much as I doubt whether the plan going into the test, I'm quite sure it wasn't, that Danusha would bowl some 50-something overs.
Yes, and concede over 200 runs. I think 236. I think 56 overs he bowled. That's a considerable amount of overs.
Absolutely.
Number of overs. Outside the line of the off-stump, and this is cracked away down to the square cover position. In fact, down to the cover position, the square cover on the boundary, having to run around, and they run back for the second. The sprinting back for the second. Udara getting closer to the half-century mark, already getting his highest score in Test cricket, and very much in the embryonic stages of his Test career. Udara started this morning as one of the openers for Sri Lanka. This is his 3rd Test match. Prior to this game, he had 78 runs. His highest score 40 at an average of 26. So looking for his first 15 Test cricket. Anderson Phillips is in to bowl to him, and he's almost playing on. This ball hitting the inner part of the bat and running between the batsman's legs and the stumps, just trickling behind him. He looked back with natural anxiety and with a sense of relief after seeing the ball just trickling away. In fact, the ball coming between his legs, just bouncing between his legs and going down to where a backward short leg would have been. He remains on 46. 14 to Kamindu Mendes, 68 for 2. They came together when the score was on 25 at the fall of Dinesh Chandimal's knock. He went for 1. And this is clipped away down to the fine leg area by Udara. He's now on to 47, 69 for 2.
He's playing He's playing very well this morning, Udara, and playing with a lot of control for a man that's only in his third match and hasn't played Test cricket for a good period of time. But just watching Anderson Phillip, he's got that ability because of his pace to bowl wicket-taking deliveries, but it's just that consistency. The head falls away and it tends to trouble his direction.
Catches the ball from Alzari Joseph at mid-on. The left-handed Kamindu Mendes will face Anders Phillip, one of the fast bowlers over the years to have come out of Trinidad and Tobago. Ian Bishop, Anthony Gray, among others. Here is a ball. He's bowling around the wicket to the left-hander, and Mendes is defending, hurried into a defensive prod. The ball trickles away into the offside to be picked up by Brandon King. And in the years prior to that, in the 1970s, there was, I think, one by the name of Abidali. Did he bowl for Trinidad and Tobago? Am I right in saying that?
You are?
Yes. And primarily he was chosen just to take the shine off because they had a string of spinners in the 1970s, Trinidad and Tobago playing in the regional first class competition. We're watching as Anderson Phillip comes in and he's driving into the onside, coming forward and clipping the ball towards mid-wicket. Goes straight to Amir Django, and there is no run. It remains on 69 for 2. And so in those days, Trinidad and Tobago didn't have a lot of fast bowlers coming forward and making the breakthrough. There was Rafiq Jumadeen among the spinners, Imtiaz and Ishan Ali.
Albert Padmore?
Well, Albert Padmore was Barbados.
Barbados.
Barbados. So Rafiq Jumadeen, Imtiaz Ali, Ishan Ali.
And Tool India made 400.
Who made?
Chased 400.
Who chased 400?
India.
Oh, yes, in that test match in 1976, yes.
That was it.
This ball is clipped away down to the backward square position by Kamindu Mendes, and he gets a run for it. 70 now is the Sri Lankan score for the loss of 2 wickets, and that brought about a transformation in terms of the strategic move by the West Indies in terms of bowling, because after that test match, and that test series against India in 1976, the West Indies opted for pace, a quartet of fast bowlers, and we know the results of that change. And the West Indies went on to dominate for a very, very long time. Yes, that test match, India was set, I think, 406 to win that test match at the Queen's Park Oval in Trinidad. And, Clive Lloyd and others were saying, well, the West Indies should win it. They had the spinners at their disposal. But the Indian batsmen, they made hay in the Trinidad and Tobago sunshine, and they knocked the 406 runs off. And so that was that. 70 for 2. Kamindu Mendes on 15. Udara on strike. He's on 47, and he's driving down the ground. I think this will be his 50. Lahiru Udara gets his first 50 in Test cricket, driving down the ground. And he has gone away for 4 runs. He's on to 51. In fact, it's Kamindu, sorry. It was Kamindu. Yes. It was Kamindu who was into that shot, hitting it down the ground for a boundary. And Sri Lanka are now 74 for the loss of 2.
And Seals...
A little bit ahead of myself there.
That's all right. And Seals back into the attack. And I would like to see a double change, I think, Phillip.
So here is Seals, and Kamindu Mendes is trying to clip the ball away down to the backward square position, not being able to make contact, the ball hitting him on the fleshy part of the thigh and just dropping away in front of him. He remains on 19. Udara really deserves a half century. He has batted well. And the half century partnership between these two looming as well. They've added 49. Came together and chanted Chandimal departed for 1 after. Before that, Madushka was caught for 6. King catching both, and Shamar Joseph accounting for both victims. Wickets falling at 15 and 25. Seals is outside the off stump, and Mendes doesn't offer, and it's taken by Shea Hope. Shea Hope back in the West Indies side after missing the first test. Joshua De Silva making way. Silva kept in that opening test match.
Yeah, I was going to say Jaden Seals back into the attack, but I'd like to see a double change that gives Shamar Joseph another spell before lunch. I just think Anderson Phillip is just a bit too short, a bit too wide, and bowling to the left-hander with a deep backward point is not ideal on the first morning, I don't believe.
Seals into bowl to Mendes, and Mendes is covering up and plays it into the offside. Pronounced movement across his stumps there, almost squaring up as he played that ball. Good length delivery. Seals walks back to the top of his mark, would like to get that wicket to carry him to 100 victims in Test cricket. And he'd like to have a drink at lunch to celebrate that. Will he be able to do
Definitely.
that? He has 2 balls left in this over. He's on his way to bowl to Kamindu Mendes, and Mendes is getting one down the leg side, just moves inside the line and watches the ball as it goes by into the gloves of wicketkeeper Shea Hope, skipping to his right behind the stumps. 2 slips and a 4th slip. I'm not inclined to say golly. He's not wide enough, Captain Roston Chase. So Campbell is at first slip. And in the second slip position is Hodge. Then there is Roston Chase at the 4th slip position. And Jaden Seals has decided to just change his angle. He's bowling over the wicket now. In the bright morning sunshine here at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium. And we have some children from various camps coming into the grounds this morning to watch the action, and the hope is that they will have such a tremendous impact on them, such a tremendous impression that they'll want to play Test cricket. Ball is clipped away by Kamindu Mendes down to the forward square leg position. The man at the square leg boundary area having to come around, and they get a couple of runs for it. So he's on to 21. Udara is on 47. 76 for 2. In fact, it's a no ball. A no ball bowled by Jaden Seals, and so he'll have to re-bowl that to complete his over. And over by some distance.
He'll probably go back round the wicket.
He'll probably go back around the wicket. Yes, perhaps that change in direction, having bowled the previous deliveries around the wicket and then switched to over the wicket, and he just lost that rhythm there and went well over, conceding a no ball. 77 for 2 is the score. He comes in now to bowl to Mendes, and Mendes is driving into the offside. He goes down to Alzari Joseph at mid-off. Now the over comes to an end. It's 77 for 2. 77 for 2. Kamindu has 21. Udara is on 47. Dave Joseph is back, and after his comments, it will be the voice of Denmore Roberts to take all of us to lunch.
Yeah, this play is looking, pretty set. Denmore. West Indies bowlers have got to rethink their strategies and their plans. To break. Oh, we see a change here coming. Shamar Joseph coming back. Let's hope they can make a break just before lunch.
Yeah, the West Indies just being a little bit disjointed. A little bit. We saw what appeared to be a little bit of conflict, maybe, between Alzari Joseph and the captain and the West Indies. Maybe I felt that with Anderson Phillip coming on, it was a little bit too loose. It gave away a lot of runs in my mind. Here was Shamar Joseph back, and his first deliveries having the batsman covering up, wanting a single, not on. Played into the mid-wicket region, and there was no run. So, score 77 for 2. Sri Lankans would be quite happy with that score, and they going at a good rate, well over 3 runs per over. And like you said, these two, especially Udara, he seems very set in his at the crease. I thought Jack said he was got his 50, but he's still on 47 by the score that I'm seeing on the screen here. He's working one into the onside field, into the boundary for 4. So he got one on the line of the stump, but now they're celebrating his half century. That of Udara gets his half century. He's on to 51 with that delivery that was strayed by Shamar Joseph on his legs, and he really turned it into the backward square region and into the boundary for 4.
Yeah, excellent shot. Then we actually waited on that one, and then clipped it into the onside for 4, which brought up his half century. And he'll be looking to go big here for Sri Lanka, to keep them in the runnings.
Certainly would be hoping that he can get a big score. Here is he facing up, and this delivery from Shamar Joseph has him playing a defensive shot. A lot more confident now. His feet are beginning to move. Remember earlier he was just standing there and stabbing, but now he's playing in a more approved manner, looking a lot more confident about himself and his batting. He would be happy that he's gotten the opportunity and he's gotten to a half century, very first half century in Test cricket. So he would be a happy man to have gotten that monkey off of his back, and be hoping that against the West Indies he can get a big score. Here is he facing Shamar Joseph, is in short of a length delivery that he's getting on top of and just playing it into the offside field confidently, and there is no run. So 81 for 2. Madushka, he made 6, and Shandimal made 1. Those are the 2 wickets to go so far, both caught by Brandon King of Shamar Joseph. One on the offside and one on the onside. And as we see, Shamar Joseph is back at his mark. Very long run up today. Yes. Had a good rhythm. He begins to move in now. Goes away from us. Runs in past the umpires, in and bowl outside the line of the off stump. A delivery that is banged away into the offside field will get another 2 runs as Alzari Joseph gives chase from mid-off. 2 more runs to the right-handed Udara. Kamindu Mendes is there also. He's on 21. And the Sri Lankans winning the toss and batting so far. They are 83 for 2. They would be happy with the number of runs that they would have gotten in the session. 83 runs so far. With about another 12 minutes or so to go in the session, the West Indies would have hoped for probably another wicket in this session. Here is his delivery, one that's bowled hard into the pitch by Shamar Joseph, and jumping into line is Udara, playing it out into the onside field to end the over. At the end of the over, Kamindu Mendes is on 21, Udara is on 53. Sri Lanka batting first, 83 for 2.
Yeah, I'd like to see the West Indies, pull themselves back a little bit, then more. I think they've had enough time to assess the pitch, the pace, what's happening, so they could organize themselves and, come on board.
What's your assessment of the pitch? Not as quick as the one we played on in the first test?
Yeah, it's around the same thing in terms of the first innings. First day. It's probably a little bit of moisture hanging around, and the ball's not really taking off.
A little more spongy type bounce.
Right. Once it gets dry and hard, it's gonna take off a little bit more. So they should have assessed it already by now. I think it's more than enough time, and then try to bowl some decent line and contain these batters and build some pressure on them.
Seal 6 overs, 3 maidens, 16 runs, no wicket. Shamar Joseph, 6 overs, 1 maiden, 27 runs, 2 wickets. Alzarri Joseph, 4 overs, 1 maiden, 17 runs, no wicket. And Anderson Phillip, 4 overs, no maiden, 22 runs, no wicket. And that, I think, is the little difference. He came on and sort of let the pressure go with a little bit too many loose deliveries and a little bit of poor fielding as well by the West Indians, just maybe relaxing a little bit in the field, not as tight as they would have wanted it to be.
Well, you want to be tight then more.
Jaden Seals is going to continue and he'll be hoping for his 100th wicket. Here is he comes in, right arm over the wicket to the left-handed Kamindu Mendes, and he's leaning forward and playing a defensive shot into the offside field, and there's no run. So I realized that Seals recognized that he was immediately around the wicket to Mendes. He wasn't getting anything at all happening, and so he's decided that he's going to go over the wicket and try his hand for a couple of overs from over the wicket to the left-handed Kamindu Mendes. Means that Jaden Seals is thinking, he's not just staying in one type of attack. Here is he beginning to move in. Now he's in and bowl outside the line of the off stump. Good length delivery. The batter picking up the line early and just raising the bat, allowing it to go by into the gloves of the wicket keeper. And there is no run. So 2 slips and a gully in place. Then there was a man at point. There was a short extra cover in Amir Django. There was a mid-off, mid-on, and a man at forward of square, and then the man down on the long leg boundary. For Jaden Seals, as he runs in, goes past the umpires in, and his delivery is driven out on the offside pass. The man at mid-off is going to run close to the boundary, but Alzarri Joseph picks it up now and has a good strong throw back to the bowler's end, and the batters were able to rush back for 2 runs. So it was a short of a length delivery up to the left-handed Mendes, and he just punched it out past that wideish mid-off region and picked up 2 easy runs. So 2 more to the Sri Lankan total, 83 for 2. You would tend to think that the West Indies are thinking that if they're able to just get another wicket or 2 here and they get into that middle order of the Sri Lankans, they can probably limit them to something similar, but they wouldn't want Udara and Kamindu Mendes to get away. Here is this delivery, bringing the batter forward, leaning forward is Kamindu Mendes, playing with defensive bat out into the offside field, and there is no run. So the grounds here at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium continue to look immaculate. We're going to have to figure out where they get their water from, because they're the greenest spot probably in Antigua and Barbuda right now. We're in the midst of a drought situation in Antigua and Barbuda. They haven't had real rain for a little bit. Farmers and others must be very concerned. Here we watch as this is a delivery that is driven through the offside field beautifully. It's going to run into that extra cover boundary, and it does now, and that's 4 runs. It was right up to the left-handed Kamindu Mendes, and he just leaned on it and drove it through the extra cover region and picked up 4 runs.
Yeah, good shot by Mendes. As he said, he just leaned into it and pressed it past cover for 4. Again, the bowlers have got to adjust that length and that line they want to bowl to these batters.
Yeah, just a little bit too full.
Yeah, to keep them under check.
A little bit too full there from Jaden Seals, over pitching, and Mendes was quickly onto that one, Kamindu Mendes, and picked up his 27th run, 89 for 2. We've had 20.5 overs bowled, so in the midst of the 21st over. Here is Jaden Seals with a bouncer, and the batter just having to tuck out of the way, allowing it to go by above his head, taken by wicketkeeper Shea Hope, and there's no run. The end of the over has come up, 21 overs bowled so far. Sri Lanka winning the toss this morning and batting the 89 for 2, but the 4.24 run rate, Dave, that they've continued, like we saw in the first test, to score very well above 4 per over.
Yeah, they've been going at that pace, as you said, from since the first test match, and they have not pulled it back. I think they have been given that option based on the lengths that the West Indies bowlers are bowling. And they've been pretty patient waiting on these bad balls to come along.
And the West Indians, they have offered, at least still, we still have that problem where they're offering almost a 4 ball per over, where they bowl that loose one that is over pitched. Shamal Joseph moves away from the Circuit Liambu's end, and this delivery is pitched up and is driven up on the onside, a tumbling save by the fielder at that mid-on position, Anderson Phillip, and there is no run. Anderson Phillip has to find a way, Dave Joseph, that he's going to bowl similarly to how he bowls when he's bowling in domestic cricket, because when he bowls in the domestic competition, he's effective, he gets wickets, but every time he steps up to the next level, something just seems to be amiss. He just sort of not perform the way that you expect him to. Here we watch as this is Shamal Joseph, who is in, and this delivery is turned away into the onside, out to that deep man on the square leg boundary for a single. Udara gets run number 54, and the Sri Lankans go up to 90 for 2. 90 for 2 in the innings. Remember, the Sri Lankans today, they won the toss this morning, and Seth Burton and Jack Matthew raised their eyebrows when the Sri Lankan captain said that he was going to have a bat. But he probably looked at the pitch and saw that it looked like a good pitch and decided that, I felt it was a psychological move to say, you know what, West Indies, yes, we lost the first match batting first, but we're going to come back and bat again and win the first psychological battle. This delivery from Shamal Joseph around the wicket to the left-hander is clipped away down to the long leg region for a single. 91 for 2 in over number 22 being bowled. So maybe just a little bit better. Remember, in the first test, the first day before lunch, we were only able to get 22 overs in. We might get an over or so more than that in this session. So just a slight improvement in terms of the over rate. And we look on the over rate monitor on the screen, and it says that they're 4 overs behind the recommended rate. Shamal Joseph is in, played defensively by the right-handed Udara, who, if he survives until lunch, would go in feeling good about himself, thinking that I got the opportunity. I came in this morning replacing Pathum Nissanka, and that's a good player to be replacing, and felt that he really had to do the work, and he has done it so far, and would hope that he can survive into lunch and then continue after lunch, looking to get to his very first test century. Sri Lanka would want to have a better fight in this game, this one against the West Indies. Shamal Joseph with other ideas is in, outside the line of the off stump, and this one is punched away off the back foot. They get one, but that's all they're going to have. Hodge comes in off the point boundary very quickly into that cover region and has a left-handed throw that pulls Shea Hope from behind the stumps, and they're able to come through for a run. 55 is Udara. Kamindu Mendes is on 28. 92 for 2. The partnership continues to grow. It's at 65, 67. Yes, 67 now. So a good partnership so far, and we spoke a lot about that in the first test, the importance of partnerships. The Sri Lankans finding one now for the third wicket. The partnership goes on to 68 as this delivery from Shamal Joseph around the wicket is turned away down to the fine leg region for a run to Mendes. He goes to 29. Udara is on to 55. At the end of over number 22, Sri Lanka, they are 93 for 2 and recovering after they lost 2 early wickets.
Yes, Denmore, I think the West Indies bowlers will be better served to apply the tactic we spoke about so much in the last test match, bowling a few balls to the wicket keepers and try to work their way back from that. As I said, too many boundary balls have been bowled in this morning session.
Could it be when you check, especially with Jaden Seals, is he trying too hard maybe?
Yeah, well, I believe he's trying to get to that landmark.
Is it on his mind? Would he be thinking about it?
I don't think players normally do, but the media these days highlights a lot of things, so I guess it would have been noted to him, and he's actually thinking about it now.
Yeah, it makes them aware of certain things. Jaden Seals will start what we think will be the final over before lunch, and this first delivery is played away by the left-handed Kamindu Mendes for his 30th run down to the backward point region, and they cross over the left and right hand combination being very good for the Sri Lankans. One of the things that they've done very well as well is to run between the wickets and take the opportunity for the singles and the twos. The Sri Lankans, 1 or 2 occasions we saw them taking a little bit of a risk. Remember them coming back for a second run there that was a little bit tight, but they got it in the end. Good cricket in the end. Jaden Seals just wanting at field change. He wants that man who is at that point on the boundary to come up into the regulation point position, maybe a little closer into that catching position. Just signal to his captain that he wanted the man to come up. He gets it. Here is him in now, and this is edging and dropped right through the hands of the man at second slip. It went through at a catchable height. That looks to be Graves, between Graves and Campbell, and it came down to the third man boundary for 4. That should have been taken straight forward. Jaden Seals looks upset and should be. West Indies putting that catch down.
Yeah, he's really, really upset then, man. Thought he had his man just now.
Yeah, Graves went across. Campbell was there as well. None of them got a hand to it. It went between both of them, and it came down to that third man boundary at really catchable height. Should have been taken by either Graves or Campbell in that slip cordon, and Jaden Seals would have to try again, and his run of bad luck continues. That he had catches dropped off of his bowling in the first test, and what really should have been a celebration going into the luncheon interval, he's going to have to try again. Here is he in to Udara, and Udara is getting another short of a length delivery, this time playing it, getting on top of it, and playing it down into the gully region where Ruston Chase is located, and there is no run. So Udara goes on to 59 when really should have been back in the pavilion. It looked as I think Graves coming at it sort of distracted Campbell, who was at first slip, and Campbell didn't get a hand onto it. Maybe thought that Graves was going to go at it. Graves eventually left it, and it went between Graves and Campbell and into the boundary for 4. Jaden Seals in again, and this time Udara is hitting one hard but stopped by Amir Django at that cover region, and there is no run. He's on the back foot and looking to force that one through the offside, but hit it straight to Django at that short cover position, and there is no run. So by our watch, maybe just about 2 more deliveries to go before the luncheon interval. A good over so far by Jaden Seals. Really should have had a wicket in this over. Should have had his 100th wicket. He's trying once more, and Udara is driving and partially stopped by the diving Amir Django at that Brandon King, at that cover region, and they're able to come through for a single. The ball went behind of Brandon King, and they're able to come through for a run. Yes, Amir Django with the pads on was on the onside. So Brandon King, who's been a part of the action this morning, he took the 2 catches of the batters to go. He took Nishan Madushka first, driving off Shamar Joseph for 6, and then Dinesh Chandimal flicking one to him at that forward square position, and he's taken both catches. 99 for 2, so a good session in terms of runs for the Sri Lankans. Here is Jaden Seals in to the left-handed Kamindu Mendes. He's steering one into the gully region, and there is no run. That's lunch on day number 1. Kamindu Mendes goes to lunch on 30. Udara on 60. Sri Lankans, they are 99 for 2, having lost wickets on 15 and 25, and so far 74 runs for this partnership between Kamindu Mendes and Udara. The West Indies would feel going into lunch that they would have dropped an opportunity to have 3 wickets with that drop catch of Jaden Seals' bowling just before the luncheon interval. Dave Joseph, who won the first session?
Yeah, I think Sri Lankans actually leading the first session, and all the sitter just being put down at second slip there by West Indian slip fielders. That's regulation then, where you can't get away from. That's a sitter. Yeah, even your grandma in a rocking chair will take that easily.
That one went catchable height.
Not catchable height. Easily catchable.
Yeah,
height.
Waist high catch should be right into your pouch, taken, and in the end, not even. I don't think it touched anyone as well, and we just have to keep our eyes, because there were some clouds overhead that could also be important in what happens during the day's play. At lunch, 99 for 2. Nishan Madushka, he was caught king of Joseph for 6. Lahiru Udara, he's not out on 60. Dinesh Chandimal caught Brandon King of Joseph for 1. And Kamindu Mendes, he's the not out on 30. The partnership so far is 74 for the 3rd wicket. And the West Indies bowling reads Seals 8 overs, 3 maidens, 28 runs, no wicket. Shamar Joseph 7 overs, 1 maiden, 31 runs, 2 wickets. Alzari Joseph 4 overs, 1 maiden, 17 runs, no wicket. And Anderson Phillip 4 overs, no maiden, 22 runs, no wicket. And so the West Indies will have to talk it over at lunch after Sri Lanka staging somewhat of a recovery after losing their 2nd wicket on 29, going into lunch with the score on 99 for 2. We're going to take a short break from here at the Sir Vivian Richards Cricket Ground, and we will join you in about 35 minutes or so for more action in this 2nd test match between the West Indies and Sri Lanka. Until then, it's goodbye.